What's up, everybody? Straw Hats Are Cool here, and we are back again with another video. We are here again with another episode of Market Watch. So before we get into today's video, I do just want to say again, thank you to everyone who has been supporting the channel recently. We are well on our way to 1,300 subscribers now, and I really just can't believe how much growth we've seen in the last month or so. So really just want to say thank you to everyone again who's been coming out to support the channel, especially those of you who are coming to support the market watches. I've noticed that some other content creators who are notably larger than I am have also started doing market watch videos relatively consistently. Makes me feel good that you guys still come in to watch mine as well. Nothing against those other creators for doing this. I'm glad to see more discussion about the market in general. So nothing against anyone who's doing those as well. But I just feel like me still being a smaller channel, it's nice to see so many of you still coming and enjoying the market watches that we do here on this channel. So just wanted to say thank you for that and everyone who's supporting me. But with that, let's get into today's market watch. So starting off as usual, we're going to be taking a look at our manga rares. Manga Shanks is still really expensive, sitting at $1,400. There were a couple. This one was a BGS 9.5, and then there was one that sold at 1,200 raw. These might be a little bit abnormal sales because of the 10% store credit promotion going on right now for the Cyber Weekend on TCG Player. But in general, Shanks is still high. You might see some listings here and there pop up lower, like this one, maybe closer to $1,000, but Shanks is still going to be very hard to pick up. Ace, kind of same deal. And again, I think that some of these sales might be just a little inflated because people want to get their 10% store credit on all their purchases right now. So I think we're seeing some sales we wouldn't normally see otherwise. I believe even like if you're a part of like the TCG player membership thing, you get an extra 5%. So that's 15% catch back on your purchases. So I do think that some of these sales are a little inflated, and once this promotion ends, I don't think we'll be seeing these cards sell at these prices, but maybe I'm wrong about that. I just feel like right now things are a little inflated because of the sale going on. Soga King is now up over $500, and they are selling at this price, and honestly with this one I wouldn't be surprised if it kind of sticks around this price at this point. We've been seeing it gradually go up. It started around 200, then it was 300, 400, and now we're up at 500, and it is still cheaper than the Shanks and the Ace, who I will say are notably more popular characters than Soga King. Nothing against Soga King, of course. Mad respect to our Sniper King. But I do think that this one will probably kind of stay around the $400 to $500 range for the time being. So I wouldn't expect this one to drop much after the sale. I do think the other two might and should, honestly, but we'll see. And then we've got, of course, Saba, who is still the lowest of the four right now, $450 thereabout. There were some that sold a little higher, and again, this is the only listing, and it is from someone with 0% and only 6 sales. So yeah, then the next one's 700. So I wouldn't be surprised if here shortly Sabo ends up passing Soga King in price. I think Sabo's a more popular character, and this card is more playable. And as you'll see when we get a little further into the video, people are going a little bit crazy for the max rarity version of some of these black cards. And this is, like I've said in just about every episode for the last couple weeks, the hype surrounding the blue-black Sakazuki deck. So that is it for our manga rares. Let's jump into OP01. And I will say, honestly, I think this week is going to be a little bit shorter because there really isn't as much to talk about, to be honest with you. Probably kind of the calm before the storm. Once we get OP05 out, there'll be a whole lot to talk about on the market. So very excited for the release of OP05 and to see how it shakes up the market. But let's just jump right in and start talking about OP01 now. The leaders, to start things off, most everything is kind of about where it has been, except for Law, who is up at $420 now. The most expensive listing that sold was $389, and I think there's just selling faster because of the sale again. And you can see here that they were kind of back in the range where I expected things to fall. This one was a little higher, but they were kind of in that 330, 340 ranges, which is where I expected them to kind of stay. But right now they are a little higher. And again, this might just be because of the sale. I'm not too sure. I probably, I wouldn't buy at this price. I'd wait and see where things end up in a week or so from now. But just keep your eye on this one if you're looking to pick one up yourself. Your SR regular art Trafalgar Law is at $16.75. And honestly, with how playable this card is and the fact that it's a set one card, if you don't have these, I would consider picking them up now. We've seen that Law is just a deck that can keep up in just about any format thus far. Yet to see how things go in set 6 over in Asia. However, set 6 did just release over there, so won't be too long before we start seeing results for tournaments over there and seeing if Law is able to keep up in that meta as well. But from what we've seen in OP05's meta, this deck is one that can keep up, and it's definitely one to keep your eye on. So if you don't have your Laws, I think this is a good price to pick them up. I can definitely see them going up higher. In fact, we've even seen them up higher than this. For a while, they were sitting around $24, so $16.75 isn't terrible, especially for a card that's just as good as this one. Even in decks that aren't Law, this is just a very playable card, so I would definitely just have these in your collection just because it's a good card. Next up, we've got Alti. Alti seeing a little bit of a price increase, has been going up gradually over time, as most set 1 cards are. There are only 10 listings left, which is something to keep in mind as well. And this is probably just because purple gets a lot better next set, and it's a ramp card that you can play on your odd curve, which is something that a lot of the purple decks are lacking still, is ramp on that turn 2 going first. But this is an option, so we are seeing a little bit of a price increase here. Next up, just wanted to quickly talk about our beloved Roanoa Zoro again. It's been sitting around $100, but now it's up to $120. Again, I'm gonna keep saying this. It might be a little inflated because of this, but it also might just be that this card is a 4 of in all the red purple Law decks, and that is a very popular deck right now, and probably will be into set 5. With Law just being a very popular character, and it's also a very fun deck to play, that red purple Law, in my opinion. Speaking of the red purple Law, thank you to those of you who were if you watched my deck profile on the list I went 7-2 with, the video did a lot better in terms of analytics than I was expecting, so thank you to everyone who went over there and watched that video. I do appreciate the support. But yeah, so Zoro's at 120. Again, it's just one of those cards, kind of like Law. It's super playable. It's been playable since its release, and I mean, it's just a vanilla stat character with Rush, so it'll probably be good for a while. Yeah, not much else to say there. Moving on now, Boa Hancock. This is your alt art from set 1, and I gotta say I am glad I picked up one copy for my collection, as this is one of the ones I was missing when they were a little cheaper than this. It's at $120 now, the same price as Zoro, and I really don't think this card deserves to be at this price because, like, again, I know it's waifu tax and a popular character, but Zoro is also one of the most popular characters in the series. This is an incredible art, and it's also a card that is incredibly playable. Boa Hancock, on the other hand, very popular character, waifu tax, of course, but it's not very playable right now. It's not been seeing hardly any play recently. There have been some queen decks that have seen some success running a couple copies of this card, but in general, this card just hasn't been seeing a lot of play, so I'm a little bit surprised to see it up here at the same price as the Zoro, who's been very playable for a longer period of time. But I guess that just shows you the power of waifu tax. So $120 on your Boa. They, however, are not selling at this price. They've been sitting around that $80 price range, a little below, a little above. Kind of been bouncing back and forth between $75 and $85 for a while now. And I can say that pretty confidently because I look at the prices on cards religiously. So I think this one should come back down. They're not selling at this price. One sold yesterday at $100. They're not selling at $120 yet, and hopefully they won't, and they'll come back down a little bit if you're looking to pick up some copies of this card. Basil Hawkins. Now this is just an uncommon, mind you. It is up at $2.27, and that's with 99-cent shipping. Though if you spend $5 or more, that shipping is free. So yeah, the Basil Hawkins is seeing a hike in price. Look at that chart there. That's always fun to see. It's like a 20-cent card, and then out of nowhere up over $2. And this is just because, again, purple's good. The red purple Luffy decks are playing this right now, since that is legal. I don't know enough about the purple Luffy deck to say if that deck runs this card as well. I feel like they wouldn't, but I could be wrong about that. But yeah, Basil Hawkins is really good in the red purple Luffy deck. Just some ramp, and it has a trigger as well, and it also has counter, so that's why people are playing this card. So yeah, hopefully you already had your Basil Hawkins. If you've been playing since the beginning of the game, you probably do. If not, hopefully you picked them up before the price hike. Otherwise, if you're like me and you have an absolute heck ton of bulk from set 1, I would go through it and see how many copies of this card you have, and maybe make yourself a little money while the price is high on these. Last thing for set 1 is Radical Beam, is at $2.50. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because there is still no evidence that would support that this card is going to be getting its restriction lifted, and it's back up to $2.50. So I'm bringing this up because if the restrictions get lifted, the price on this card is going to go even crazier, because right now it's already at $2.50 with only 16 listings, because people are on their hopium that this card will get its restricted lifted. So that's just the people on their hopium who are buying these right now. Unless maybe there's some like Bandai spies who know the restrictions getting lifted and are buying up all the cards themselves so that when the restriction gets lifted, they can turn a profit. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. So maybe the restrictions are getting lifted, who knows. But that is it for OP01. So let's jump into OP02 now. Starting off again with our leaders. Not a lot of change here. These four are still sitting around $50. Magellan's still around 80. Sanji's still again around 80. This one was higher, but last week I think it fell down. Now it's around 80. And then Smoker and Newgate are your most expensive leaders. Um, Newgate, I feel like, I don't know if this went up a little more again. I feel like maybe it did. Let's see. So last week was like the 19th. So yeah, I do think it's gone up quite a bit again. So hopefully you held on to your Newgate or bought one while they were a little cheaper, as they are approaching $150 now. And I will say Newgate, since it's getting unbanned next set, it is still playable next set. Kind of towards the end of the OP05 format in Asia, we did see there was some Newgate decks that were going around and seeing some success. So the deck isn't totally dead next set. So for you Newgate enjoyers out there, there's still hope. I know that's not what some of you want to hear, as you're probably sick and tired of seeing this old man's face, but it is what it is. Let's jump now into this is just everything. So let's talk about our Newgate regular SR. Now again, there is no confirmation that this card is getting its restricted lifted, like with some of the other cards, the Nami, the Dodon, the Marco, I believe. Bans and restrictions are getting lifted. That's the 5-cost Marco that was restricted alongside the Dodon and Nami. So no confirmation that this card is getting its restriction lifted, and it's up to $13. Now, just like I said with Radbeam, this could be the only reason this card is high is the people on their Hopium are buying them, hoping that these are going to get unbanned, like me, so we can play them in our red-purple Luffy decks. Or the Bandai Spies know the restrictions getting lifted, and they're buying up all these copies, so when the restrictions do get lifted, they can sell them for an insane profit. Hopefully it's not the latter. Hopefully that's not the case, but it could be, so do keep that in mind. Borsalino is still $30. Probably gonna stick around this price. If those of you remember the Rush Zoro during kind of those set 1 and 2 formats where it was around $30, it stuck there until the deck got a little worse, and then it got a reprint and the price is tanked, which is nice. There's no sign of a reprint for this card coming anytime soon, unfortunately. So if you don't have your Borsalinos, unfortunately, I do think you're kind of stuck. Gonna have to pay this $30 price tag for a single copy of Borsalino. So if you've been a long time watcher of the channel, and I say long time, my channel's only been active for like 4 or 5 months now. I kept bringing this card up and telling you you should buy them when they were like $11. So hopefully you did. Again, if you're a long time watcher, thank you for supporting the channel. So hopefully you got your Borsalinos earlier. Alt art is now under $100, and it's probably going to stay around this price. There's still like, there's 29 listings. It's a pretty good amount, so it'll probably stick around this price for a while. Glad it's down under $100 at least, but $91 is still a lot. I, for one, am glad that I picked these up in set 2 when they were like, it wasn't in the beginning, because in the beginning they were still a little high, but kind of like towards the end of set 2 when they were like $25-$30, I want to say. So glad I got them then. Your Kuzan, not as much as the Borsalino, and that's because this is not a 4 of in all of the blue-black Sakazuki decks, from what I can tell. I was actually doing some testing last night with the deck. Deck is completely dirty, super consistent, and it feels like it can do anything every turn, which is absurd. It's definitely not the easiest deck to play, but it's a disgusting deck, and unless we find something that can kind of counter the deck, I do think the deck is a problem. I can say that as someone who's now been testing the deck. It is filthy. But this card is not a 4 of in all the decks, usually a 2 or 3 of. For that reason, it's not as much as the Borsalino. Still a very good card nonetheless. and hopefully you have your 4 copies already, just because if you're like me, I like to have at least one playset of every card just in case. Yeah, Kuzan, $22. A lot of listings, so it'll probably stick around this price. Then your alt art Kuzan is just a little lower than the Borsalino. And this one has always been weirdly high, I feel, so probably not going to see much of a shift from this price now that it is a very important card of what is going to be the best deck in the format. I'm just saying it right now, it's going to be the best deck in the format unless we see some bans or restrictions geared towards keeping this deck in check. Alt Art Magellan, this is the last card we're going to look at for OP02, and I feel like it's weirdly cheap considering how heavily played Magellan's going to be in those purple decks soon. The SP's been going up in price while this one's been dropping in price, and I'm going to keep it a stack with you. I think that like the SP looks great. I don't like the way they just kind of feel with other cards in the deck. I feel like they just look out of place. And I think this art looks incredible. I like that the Hydras are here. Foiling's good. Just very good looking card. So for me personally, if I'm going to play an Alt Art Magellan in a purple deck, this is the one I want to be using. So lucky for me, they are cheaper of the two. And I also already have my 4 copies. I've had them since like set 2. So yeah, that is it for set 2. Let's jump into set 3. There's not really a lot to talk about in set 3. Starting off with our leaders, no real big changes to speak of. Arlong's back down again. Someone I think bought them out a week or 2 ago, and they're still at $50. Still not a lot of listings. Same thing with the Ace. Ace has only got 5 listings, so if you don't have your Ace, you might want to keep your eye on this one and pick it up now, just because One Piece cards have the tendency to kind of explode in price once there are very few listings. Ace, a popular character, though I will say I don't think that the Ace deck is going to be good next set. Now I will say, I have said that in set 3 and set 4. Saying it about set 5, and in set 3 and 4, Ace did end up seeing a fair amount of success, especially towards the tail end of the set 4 format. So take what I say with a grain of salt. Ace could still be good. Just want to talk about the yellow stuff. Again, in general, yellow stuff is pretty cheap. All your SRs are under, $5. Yellow is still super good next set. Katakuri is still very good next set. These cards see play in NL as well. The alts are still cheap. Puddin's still cheap. I mean, for a waifu attack searcher in one of the better colors right now. I do want to point out though, if you look at these SRs, okay, they're all around $4. Cracker's going up in price though, and this one's got the least listings. There's 40 listings left. You got 80 on your Parasparrow and 102 on your Linlin. So this one could continue to go up in price. It has been seeing, from what I can tell in the yellow decks, it's been seeing quite a bit of play. Definitely more than it has been kind of in the end of our set 4 format. I feel like Cracker's kind of been taken out of most of the yellow deck, but it seems like it's been a lot better into the set 5 format. So Cracker's going up. I feel like this one was around $2 and now we're up at 4. It's got the least listings right now, so we could see it go up even a little more. So if you don't have your Crackers, I would definitely keep your eye on this one. Your Wanted Luffy is up at $100 now, and I gotta say I am a little surprised by this one. Except for the fact that the Wanted cards just kind of seem to have had a buyout. There are only 6 listings, and kind of the same thing with the Doflamingo, which I've also got pulled up here. Had a buyout, and I don't really know why. I know I mentioned this one and was like, you know, I could see it going up in price just from a collector's standpoint farther into the future. But I guess maybe someone watched that video and took that as an opportunity to buy out what was left, and now we're stuck at $64 and they're selling at that price. So a little unfortunate there. But with the Luffy, I'm a little surprised just because for me, I've kind of been waiting for the Oda art one that is going to be in set 5. I think it's like it was one per case in Asia, I do believe, so it might be 2 per case for us. Still might be 1 per case, which would suck a little bit, but I think the art on that one is just better. Like, I like the wanted cards from a collector standpoint, but honestly, I don't think the cards look that good, if I'm being totally honest. Just like the anime art, and then the way they've got the color, just, I don't love it. I kind of wish the whole thing just looked more like a wanted poster instead of having this kind of like half color red, like the half red, half purple, whatever. Not a big fan. But yeah, they're expensive and kind of sucks. I still don't have one, and I would like to for my collection. So sucks for me, I guess. But yeah, and then I already talked about the Doflamingo. And that's really it for set 3. Set 3 kind of dry. And like I said, not a whole lot going on in the market as a whole. So, you know, is what it is. So on to set 4 now. Starting with our leaders. Not a whole lot to talk about here. Everything's still kind of the same as it has been for the last couple weeks. So Queen is, I feel like it's just getting lower and lower. And I will say, of the leaders from set 4, I think this was the one that continues to see the most play. I think even, we don't know much about set 6, but it does kind of, there's some cards in set 6 that do seem like they would work very well with the Queen deck. So definitely one that could go up, I guess, but I guess Queen's just not a very popular character, despite the fact that the leader is pretty playable. Moving on, Yamato SR is starting to go up. Was, you know, very high and inflated during pre-sales, but over the last month, now it's starting to see an increase in price. You can see here that there were even some listings that sold as high as $9. 41 listings left, and I just see this one continuing to go up. We've got a couple listings here at about $7, and then after that we're looking at $8 and up. So like I said, I kept saying this one, you should buy them while they're cheap, because this is one that's just gonna go up in price. It's a very good playable card, good removal, can heal, just a lot of good stuff going for this card. So hopefully you picked yours up already. If not, you're looking at about $6-7 now. Same thing for Sabo. This one's always been a little higher. I want to say it only got as low as like $4 or $5, but we're seeing, again, this one's about $7 now as well. So some of your set 4 SRs are starting to go up. I probably wouldn't wait on these any longer if you have been, because they are both very playable cards and can see them going up. Yeah, these two are the two SRs that are seeing the biggest price increase from set 4 right now, so just want to make that aware for you guys. You don't have them, now would be a good time to do it, but hopefully you already have them. Set 4 was opened a lot. It was definitely been the most accessible of the sets thus far, which makes me hopeful for set 5. And then some of the SPs I just wanted to talk about. Sakazuki's going up to $40 now. This card does not see play in the blue-black Sakazuki deck, funnily enough. So I'm not really sure why this one's seeing a price increase, other than it's a pretty cool looking card. Magellan SP, like I said, this one is almost double what the set 2 alt is. And as good as it looks, I'd rather use the other one in my decks. So a little bit surprised by this, but I guess it's an SP, so shouldn't be too surprised. And then Boa's back up again. It like dropped down 60, 70, and now it is up at almost 100. Again, waifu tax, I guess, because this card isn't super playable, but it is what it is. And that is it for set 4. So yeah, so on to our promo cards now. Starting off with our Dawn. The Zoro Dawn is a little crazy expensive right now. They're not selling at this price. Highest one that sold was 70, but the lowest listing right now is 110, and there are only 5 listings. Never been a ton of listings at any given moment for most of these Dawn. And then your like Devil Fruit Collection Dawn, they're down a little bit, but still kind of expensive in my opinion. All right, so that's it for the Dawn. This is the promo Ace Leader from the special good set Ace Saba Luffy. This was something you could pre-order on Premium Bandai quite a while back now. They always do pre-orders for these things like several months in advance. I think the whole thing pre-ordered for like $45 ish. I think it ended up being like 50 with shipping. And you got a playmat, this card, and I think like one of those little like cardboard boxes. Playmat looks sick, by the way. And this card is selling for as much, if not more, than the whole thing itself. So that it's kind of honestly a little surprising to me, but hey, it's a good looking card. Hopefully you were into the game when pre-orders for these went up, I guess, if you want this one, because $53 seems like a lot to me, though I guess your alternate art is like 60, and if you don't like the white background stuff, you like the more traditional look, you've got this option who looks very, very nice. So yep, this is the Trafalgar Law from the very first tournament pack that was given out during the first 3 months of the game. So for local tournaments that happened during the set 1 format, the tournament packs had there were 5 cards, and this law was one of them. And the card is, I don't know if I mentioned this one last week. I might have. Weirdly expensive, honestly. I've got like 20 of these in my like bulk because I did a lot of tournaments. I think I did mention this last week. But yeah, it's expensive. They are selling too, so I don't know. I guess I'm reminding you again because I do think I mentioned this one last week. But yeah, still expensive. Black Maria, the winter one, they were selling at $10, and now there's 2 listings left. The cheapest one is $20. They're not selling at this price, and to be honest with you, I'm not too sure why the price on this one went up or it got bought out, but hey, it is what it is. It's also got $4 shipping, so it's really like $24. Yeah, don't know why this one went up. If you do know, let me know down in the comments below. Borsalino, this is the championship one. It's kind of been a hot topic recently because, again, the regular alt is like 100. These are 500, and they've been selling. I don't know what else to say. I just sold a couple of mine because I was on the fence about trying to get a 4th one because I had 3. I won 3 of them. And then I was like, nah, do I want to get the 4th and flex like that? But at the end of the day, I was like, nah, I'm gonna keep one for my collection, just because to me, I like having like the one is kind of like a trophy, shows my achievements in the game. The other 2 I decided I could part with because $400+ is a lot of money for a single piece of cardboard. But yeah, so they're selling at this price, and again, that might just be because of this. They weren't selling, and then a couple did sell as soon as the sale started. So yeah, if you've got extras like I did, I guess good time to sell them. I don't know how anyone could justify spending this much money on a single card, especially if you're going to play it in a deck. But maybe I'm just a poor boy who doesn't understand things because I am a teacher. Anyways, Kuzan. Well over $1,000. They're not selling at this price. However, someone did come through and buy 4 at $650. Almost makes me want to sell my 1 copy, but again, it looks so nice. And again, it's just like, I have a hard time selling my prize cards if I don't have extras, just because to me they kind of like, you know, they show what I've accomplished in a way. So yeah, I couldn't bring myself to buy one of these for sure. But yeah, those people who really want to bling out their blue-black Sakazuki decks, this is not looking good for you. I will say it does kind of suck because in Asia these cards are like a lot cheaper and were a lot easier to get. So for us, they were so difficult to get, and they're incredibly more expensive. Like just a whole lot. I don't know the exact prices, but they're just way more hard. Like they're so much harder to get, and yeah, it sucks. Because the way they do, they're like, they don't really have the regionals. They do like these flagships, and a lot of them are only like 5 rounds. And if you do like well at those, you get these. Like I feel like X1 got this at a 5-round event over there, and there were tons of them that happened. So yeah, that kind of sucks for us. Anyways, Sakazuki is $4,000, and I'm not really sure why. I think someone just decided they wanted to buy them all at 1,000. There weren't many listings, but it's not gonna sell at this price. Of the 4, or of the 3, this one is the least playable, though it was the hardest to get. Only top 16 got this one, so I don't have this one. I wish I did, because all 3 of them would look really cool next to each other. But yeah, please don't buy this. Even if you have the money, please don't. It's irresponsible. It's not worth this. Anyways, Bellamy. I don't know why this card is $8. This card is doo-doo. 5 cost 6k, no counter, banish. If it's got 2 Dawn on it and you're at 0 life, it gets an extra 2,000 power. It's bad. I don't know what else to say. This card is bad. I don't know why it's selling. I know like these pirate party packs aren't, they're not super easy to get. Like my local game store, usually we get 16 of them, and that's it. So if you're not in an area where you've got several LGS doing events for this game, it's definitely hard to get these. But this card isn't good unless I'm missing something. So yeah, I don't know. Please, if you know why this card is $8, let me know down below in the comments. And then next up, this little guy right here is it's seen a price increase. I don't really know why. We did get the leaders for the, I want to say it's like starter deck 13. It's another ultimate starter deck with an Ace, Sabo, Luffy leader, and they are all based in yellow. They're all multicolored leaders. I think Luffy's black yellow, Ace is black blue, or not black blue, yellow blue. Wow, I need to start out. Luffy is black yellow, Ace is yellow blue, and Sabo is red yellow. And I think because of how the leaders work, and people think this card's gonna be really good. I doubt it will be, but maybe I'm just a pessimist. I know this seller right here was the only one who had listings for a while, and they sold like 50 of them at $7 each. So they made a lot of money off of nothing. So yeah, this had a buyout. Again, I think that's the reason why. If I'm wrong about that, be sure to correct me down in the comments below. The winner one also $63, I mean, effectively $64, and they're selling. All of the pre-release winner cards have gone up in general though, so I'm not like, this one's not as surprising. Also, the foiling just looks very, very nice. Background kind of reminds me of like Starry Night. It's a very good looking art. I like this one a lot. Anyways, the sealed battle cards. Sabo, $240. And all of the other cards, like just you get a pack that has 2 of these like blue Straw Hat, Shanks, Mihawk, Garp, Arlong cards. And they're all relatively expensive. And I'm a little surprised, except I did kind of come to realize that for most of these events, they're like capped at 8 players. So it's pretty hard to get into these. Now, I will say I think things will come down a little because the events just started on Friday. I want to say was the first one started happening. I've not personally been to any yet. I think there are 3 happening in my area that I'm going to try and get to. But not only are they hard to get into, I just feel like people aren't really going to want to get into these just because it's set 4 stuff. Like, we're so close to set 5, and like, so there's gonna be like a $30 admission fee because you get 6 packs of set 4. And I don't know, it's a very weird time to do this event, I think. I do want to point out though, it was this Luffy leader. There were some that sold at $80 initially, and so that one had both leaders. But that's still really funny to me that some people were so impatient that they overpaid by a lot for the participation card. The participation card. Okay. So yeah, that's it for the sealed battle stuff. That's it for our promos. We're getting towards the end of the video. Let's talk about re-release cards. This boa, for some reason, is $30. I don't know why. This card has a box topper that looks way better. This card doesn't see play. I don't know what happened. If you know, as always, let me know down in the comments. Kurobi. This one also saw a price increase by a lot, and a couple sold at that price. And again, I'm not too sure why. Now, you could argue that in set 6 we get the Arlong leader, we get like a Fishman searcher, so maybe it's because of the set 6 stuff for Hody Jones. What I want to point out here, right? There is a regional version of this card. The participant one for online is less than the pre-release one. This one's a little more. Or no, that's the finalist one. The finalist one, the online finalist one, is just a couple dollars more than this pre-release one. And then you've got your participant one, which is about the same, and then the offline one is a little more. Why is this card $25? Please tell me. I don't know. If you really want like a max rarity Kurobi, just grab one of these. Like, yes, this is a participant one. They're still hard to get. You gotta get in your regional. You got 1 in 6 chance of getting this one. Please, just get this one. It looks way better. Baby 5. This is a 2K counter. It's $15. Not really selling at this price, but it's the only listing. We do get Don Quixote pirate support in set 5. You get a searcher and some other stuff. It's not shown to be good, but I guess if you want to bling out your Don Quixote Pirates deck, you do need this card. And then this guy, Ipponmatsu, probably said that very, very wrong. It got like bought out, I guess, and people are buying it at $9. The only thing I can think of is that it's a 2-cost character, so you can cheat it out with well, yeah, there are ways to cheat it out in the new like blue-green Zoro Sanji deck. Like, they've got ways to like play 2-cost specifically from the top, and so you could do that, and then it's slash attribute, so I would imagine that the Zoro Sanji leader is at least part slash attribute. So you could buff up your... Oh, it's only characters. I have no idea. Yeah, I get the... I still think that it must be because it's a 2-cost that can play in that deck, and you play slash characters in that deck. I don't know. If there's another reason why this card might have gone up, again, let me note down below. That's it for pre-release. So, just open a random Google tab. Starter deck. Purple starter deck 4 is still expensive. Your queens are effectively $40 with... Oh, that one, we got some lower ones now. But they are selling it like $40. That's from someone with poor sale history. So yeah. Hopefully you don't need queens. I know there are so many players who need queens. This game just keeps growing and growing in popularity, and these starter decks were hard to get in the beginning anyways, and now as the game is getting more and more popular, kind of like gatekeeping these cards from them, which is really not good for the health of the game, but it is what it is, and hopefully Bandai recognizes this and is working on a solution, be it reprints or just like alt art versions of these cards that are easily accessible. Starter deck 5 is still pretty expensive. Really, your Utas and Tesoros are the reason for that. Douglas Bullet's getting a little more expensive now too, though. Starter deck 6 is getting more and more expensive. Great Eruption, Hina, there are 2 ofs. Them alone, you know, you're basically getting your money if you buy the deck. So for these right now, I'd say it's probably still better to buy the decks versus the singles, but I guess it's kind of up to whatever you have. Like, if you're only missing these, maybe just get these, but I don't know, buying the starter deck, like, you've got some garps and things that, you know, could go up in price as well. Shockwave's still not terrible, but yeah. Again, hopefully we see some reprints of these cards. So, and the yellow starter deck. Now, as a whole, the value of these cards has gone down a little bit. The starter deck is more expensive. So if you're gonna buy yellow stuff, you'd probably want to buy the singles right now. But I do want to mention this, not TCG player, but on Target, you can buy them for MSRP. You've got some yellow starter decks on here at $11.99. So if you do need your yellow starter decks, I highly recommend picking them up now. Brule and Linlin are playable in next set. Almost every yellow deck plays them. Except maybe Katakuri doesn't play the Linlin. NL does though. So if you want to play NL, pick these up now if you have not done so already. And to close out our video, or other stuff, I just want to start by saying I told you so. They released and the prices tanked. $53. I think there were people who were buying these at 100. Like, look at all these sales. Look at them. Don't buy the pre-sales. Don't do it. Just wait till release. The price will tank. This is like, yes, this is still more than you could have pre-ordered it for on Premium Bandai. They were like $25, $30. It's still not terrible. And it's a lot better than $130. Lastly, don't buy the pre-sales. Don't be these guys. Don't be these guys. Now, you might go down in the comments and say like, well, Gear 5 is a good card. It's a secret rare. It's probably a good price. No. And here's why. Alright, let's go back to set 3. Alright. Katakuri. Probably like the most played secret rare is $50. And a set that was not opened anywhere near as much as set 5 is going to be open. There's going to be so much set 5 product being opened. So much. And this card is nowhere near as playable as Katakuri. Like, this card is only really playable in Red Purple Luffy. And that deck is not bad. It's not the best though. There's no reason to buy this card at $50. I bet that at most this card will be like $30. At most. Well, you can like correct me when I'm incredibly wrong, but don't buy the pre-sales. These things are absurdly overpriced right now. I imagine most of these leaders will at most be $100. These ones in particular. Sabo, he'll be cheaper. He's not very playable. This Kaido secret rare, he's not going to be $30. This card's not that good. Uta SP, that might, like, that's probably not the worst price ever, but again, these SRs, the regular rare man share, like, please tell me no one's bought these. Oh my word. This isn't the alt art. This is the regular rare. And someone bought 2 for $13. This card's gonna be like 50 cents. Not less. Please. If you know what's good for you, don't buy the pre-sales. Alright. That's it for this week's Market Watch. As always, thank you so much for watching till the end, if you made it this far. And if you're enjoying the content and want to continue to see more of my content, please be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel and hit that little bell notification so that you know when my new Market Watch videos go live. So that's all I've got for today. I'm not going to spend a bunch of time rambling. So thank you again for watching, and I will catch you all in the next video. Peace.